an amazing instrument. It has developed into an incredible voice in today's music. So many types of guitars, so many styles of playing, all sorts of gear. How does one make their voice be heard as a guitarist? My name is Jeff Floro, and welcome to All About Guitar, where we talk tone, we talk technique, we talk gear. Where we discover how we can become better musicians in a world of constantly changing technologies. Where we take a good look at everything guitar, and sometimes not exactly guitar, but just as important, so we can be more successful as a musician in today's music scene. So sit back and relax, and let's explore all about guitar. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to All About Guitar. We have a great show for you tonight. Somebody's got their phone speaker on. There we go.
That's me.
Everybody's busy trying to share the video. We're live on Facebook Live at LA Talk Radio's Facebook page. If you're listening to it audio only from latalkradio.com, you can go over to the Facebook and see everybody here, because we got a bunch of people in here. I literally have the string section of Systyr Skinnerd here.
The guitar.
Hi.
Yeah.
The really badass part.
So anyway, it's great to have the girls in. I just did last week on Wednesday their Tuesdays Gone podcast, and they were here at LA Talk Radio, and that was a blast. That was a lot of fun. And it's been long overdue to have these lovely ladies on the show. But the band what we have tonight is my very good friend Cathy Lauer, and she plays guitar, dobro, and mandolin in the group. The very lovely Deanna Hurst, who plays is guitarist and one of the vocalists. Marija Krstic, if I'm saying that right. Yes. Guitar, vocals, and harmonica. I thought that was kind of cool. And we have the newest member, and she's great on bass, and she's just really nice. It's Shannon Bizzy.
Hello.
And you're always busy. We know that. Okay. Anyway, she plays bass, and she brought her bass down. Everybody's got guitars in here. There's guitars all over the place. Anyway, I want to go through briefly before I start playing some of the clips, because first of all, I met with the girls at CES. We got together and we just ran into each other, and we went window shopping through NAMM. And I just want to tell you guys, they know their stuff. We went by and I showed them some new guitar companies, some revolutionary new techniques in building guitars from Universum, and I forget the name of the other company, but they were checking them out. The way they were, especially Cathy, very quick to look at the construction, how the action, all that stuff. They know their gear, and in fact, they know their gear more than maybe I know my gear. So anyway, it was very cool. And then they were shopping for microphones and a wireless system, and it was interesting to watch them interact, because they're very tight. They are a family. And it's really cool to see a band that together. It's just the vibe among them is just great, and they're just a joy to have on the show. They're just really nice people. Anyway, and then the rest of the group is Coreen Sheehan on lead vocals, Shannon Millard on drums, and Carolee Schwa on keyboards.
Yes. Yeah, we call her Lightning.
You call her Lightning?
We call her Lightning.
There we go. So anyway, let's just go down the line. We'll start with Shannon. And let's just go at your background. Did you study? What were your influences? So we get a kind of feel of where you're coming from coming into the band.
Okay, yeah. I grew up, much like Deanna, as a singer, and I went to college for voice down here in Hollywood at MI. And for my electives, I was lucky enough to get some Bass Institute core classes, which was really cool. So I was essentially taking the bass and vocal program at the same time. And I was mostly learning bass so I wouldn't be that idiot singer who didn't know how to talk to the band and stuff like that. I'd have some kind of knowledge. But I actually took to it really well. And they have some live playing workshops at that school. And I remember a Pantera song came through, which is my favorite band. And I learned the song and I played it up there live. And the way it felt to play bass in heavy music like that, I forgot all about singing. So I really delved into the bass after that, played in a lot of local metal bands and stuff. And I've just been kind of going since then.
So but in your experiences, what have you besides like hard rock, like Pantera, have you played other type of stuff? Because it's interesting coming into this band, it's a different.
Yeah.
It's definitely different.
It's definitely a different genre for me to try to grasp. So a lot of walking lines and things like that were different. But aside from hard rock, medium rock, pretty much just a rock player.
Yeah. Now tell us a little bit, real quick, what you're using, what's your setup for Systyr Skinnerd?
For Systyr Skinnerd, I really haven't changed my gear much. I use my trusty bass I had built by Lance Alonso. And I have my same old pedal board. The only thing I'm doing differently is not running my Sans amp like I normally would. So I'm running a lot cleaner tone than I usually would.
Lance Alonso is the brand?
Lance.
Lance?
Yeah, he's a gentleman that I believe he's heading the Guitar Craft Academy at a Musicians Institute now.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
very
really
cool.
quality guitar builder. I have 3 of his now.
Okay, no, that's very cool. Now, Marija. Now I've known Marija for a little while, so I know she teaches and she's very. But give us your background a little bit, where you're coming into this band.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I got a ukulele when I was a year old. Regular guitar, acoustic when I was 5. Got some lessons. When I was 12, I got an electric guitar, and right away started playing like Sweet Home Alabama and Stairway to Heaven and all that stuff. Got in a band, made a record. When I was, after high school, I went to California Institute of the Arts, then Musicians Institute, and have just been teaching and playing in bands ever since then.
So what are
Original
your
covers.
major influences?
Oh, well, Skynyrd is a big one. Led Zeppelin is another one. And just, Black Sabbath and all that. But when I was a kid, I was getting a lot of instruction on finger picking, playing folk music and classical and that sort of thing. So when I went to Cal Arts, it was more classical. When I went to MI, it was more technique, a little bit of jazz, and but the whole time I was playing rock. So
because I think I saw something on Facebook, you were doing some Hendrix stuff.
Yes, yeah. I also have a Hendrix tribute.
I'm a big Hendrix fan. So.
Cool.
So
She's really good.
yeah.
Ukulele at one.
Well, it's all I could reach, I
Kept
could
you
barely.
from sucking your thumb.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
Instead of that, she probably just played with her teeth.
Oh,
Gummed it.
So,
exactly.
what are you using? What's your setup for Systyr Skinnerd?
Oh, okay. Well, for the guitar, at the moment, I have my Gibson Les Paul Signature. It's a 2014. It's active electronics. It's got a 15 dB boost switch, and it's got pots that pull out, so I can do single or double coil. I have a JCM 800 head, and also that's 100 watt. But I also, especially on tour, we're going to be using a 50 watt.
50 watt head?
Yeah,
Marshall?
JCM 800. Ooh, sorry.
That's pretty cool.
I got excited and turned it up.
Turn it up!
Turn it up.
I know, that's what they always say.
That's what you're supposed to say.
That's our slogan.
Yeah, turn it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Deanna, tell us a little bit about your influences and.
Okay. Well, I came to this band, like Shannon, my background was singing and a lot of theater, a lot of musical theater, a lot of studied with opera teachers, musical theater, session singers. And I had an original band. I self-taught on the acoustic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a huge Joni Mitchell fan, obviously. And Jim Croce, and I loved the picking and So those were my influences on guitars. Singing is a whole different thing. It's everybody from Aretha Franklin, Joni Mitchell, Barbara Streisand. I mean, I'm a conglomeration of just great singers. So when I first met Cathy, she saw me playing in. We actually were playing a gig
Together,
with another band, and I was with my original band, and so she asked me to come on board. So came on board and started cutting my teeth on the electric guitar, and of course I always loved. I'm from the Midwest, so Southern rock and rock. I'm a huge fan of that. So it was very easy for me to fall right into this music. Not easy learning it, but I mean loving it. It's it's kind of music that you think sounds really simple because it just sounds like it's rock, like it's Southern rock, and then you start deconstructing it and you're like, wait a minute, how are they doing that? So so now influences in guitar are Cathy Lauer and Marija Krstic.
Now, what are you using what are you going to be using now? Because you guys are getting ready to go out and tour. So.
I have a Mesa Boogie head, a 2x12 cab. It's a Lone Star. It's a 10, 50, and 100 watt, and I love it. It's got really, at the time when my first electric guitar was a Tele, a semi-hollow, ultra thin line.
That's the one that with the humbucker on it, right?
Yes. And so I really loved the clean, ringy tone that I got through the Mesa. Now I'm getting a little more dirty Deanna.
Dirty Deanna.
And, so now I've got, we went shopping and I got myself a 56 gold top reissue Les Paul Epiphone with P90s that I love. It's a nice fat sound, and then I also have a Strat that is newer, but it's got all the switches and the little buttons, so I can go from single coil.
So it has a humbucker on it. So
Yeah.
it's set up with a humbucker.
Yeah.
So you're taking the Les Paul with you, but you're not going to take
both.
you're going to take the Tele or the Strat?
No, I'm taking the Strat and the
Oh, you
gold
have the
top.
Strat here too.
Yeah,
So I have to take
yeah.
a look at it.
Because it'll make it we're going to share guitars a little bit on the road.
Maria's going to grab the Strat for a minute. Let's take a look at this. Oh, this is nice.
Thank you.
Let me take a picture of it. There we go. So she's got the humbucker in the bridge section. Does the volume pop up to go single coil?
Yes.
So
Yes.
oh, that's a
yeah.
nice guitar.
It's we had a good time shopping.
Girls' day out.
The girls' day out. It's like some girls go get manicures, not us. We go get amps and guitars.
I can understand that. It makes complete sense to me.
Me too.
But those are both beautiful guitars.
Thank you.
Really good. And that Mesa Boogie, I know that's a great amp. That Lone Star, I've played one of those. They're really, really, really nice.
It's nice.
And now we come to Cathy. Cathy, this is your life. Tell me.
It is.
So tell me a little bit about your background.
Well, I'm completely self-taught. I've never had a lesson. So everything I've learned is just by, the old school way of putting the record on, slowing it down, and trying to figure out what the chord. I mean, I bought books of chords and learned my open chords and bar chords, but as far as getting into lead playing and, for myself as a player, it was really from listening to records and watching other people too, going to shows and watching what they're doing. And so that's, and my influences come from, or kind of split, because for songwriting, they really center around Neil Young and John Fogerty.
Okay.
But for guitar, it's Clapton, the early Coreen days, the Allman Brothers. Mountain was a favorite. I love Leslie West. He was great. I mean, Les Paul Jr. and you know, a wall of Sun amps, Crank with a fuzz. You can't go wrong. It's like Deep Purple, Richie Blackmore, of course, Page. And then I heard Lynyrd Skynyrd. And the first time I heard Freebird, oh, God, what the hell was that? Because I'd heard Alabama, but I heard...
Well, before Lynyrd Skynyrd, were you guys into the Allman Brothers? And
Oh, I was,
Yeah.
I think the Outlaws came after Skynyrd, right?
Yeah, they were after
Yeah.
Skynyrd. But yeah, I was definitely an Allman Brothers player, Dickie Betts and
Charlie Daniels?
Charlie Daniels too.
Because they were the guys that were doing the double leads.
Yeah,
And they were using usually Les Pauls. When I saw
and
Charlie Daniels,
Marshalls.
who was Fenders, they were just got that.
Well, and Marshalls too.
They used
yeah.
Marshalls.
Yeah, and then I got it. Once I was into Skynyrd, I was into the whole genre of music, Southern rock, 38 Special, Molly
That's right,
Molly
38
Hatchell, you know, Grinder Switch, Atlantic Rhythm Section, you name it. Whoever was coming along, I would listen to it. But Skynyrd they're the kings. I mean, they this is why we do what we do. But I mean, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Duane Allman and Dickie Betts and the players that have filtered through the Allman Brothers. But because I mean, if it wasn't for the Allman Brothers, we might not have had Lynyrd Skynyrd. So
No, that's true. But they had that tone. It was a different sound than like
Definitely.
Zeppelin and stuff. And they were using those Les Pauls, and they just got that real fat bluesy sound.
yeah, the sweet, like, you know, like honeysuckle.
It wasn't the woman tone that Clapton was, but it
No.
was similar. But it was
No.
it just that really rich sound.
Really, yeah, because I think they backed off of that old saying with Marshall amps. How do you make a Marshall sound good? You just roll them all over to the right.
Line it up.
Well, I think they actually rolled some things back and kind of cleaned it up a little bit. But yeah, Dickie Betts' tone is, and even Duane's is legendary. Even Skynyrd, even in the early days, there's some really.
Well, everybody, you need to check out last week's Tuesday's Gone, because I brought pictures. I did see them open for the Who in the Quadrophenia tour, and you can see the stack of Marshalls, just all the heads and stuff, and they were pretty much straightforward. It was just the guitars. The keyboard player just had a Wurlitzer, and but they were interesting. They had
that was before you could afford a roadie to hire a grand piano around.
Yeah, and it was. I don't think they had broken yet. I don't remember hearing them on the radio at that point.
Not really,
But they were, the Who crowd is a tough crowd. They wanted to see the Who, and they were like, they're pretty rowdy and boisterous, and they were kind of quiet when Skynyrd came on. But when they finished, they got a big round of applause. So they rocked the place, and they totally got them into it.
I think they're one of the few bands that ever didn't get booed off the stage.
Yeah, but I mean that's a tough.
Yeah,
that's a tough one to open for the Who. It's everybody wants to see their group, and they just hurry up, get them off the stage. Let's get onto it. But they were good, and they sounded the Marshalls sounded great. And I remember there was the bass player was using a Thunderbird. We take a look because they show you the pictures, and I haven't scanned them yet, but I'll scan them and I'll share them so everybody can see them because it's really interesting.
Oh, your pictures were great. I mean, just because you were there,
you had a good seat too.
I was over when the Who played. I was over where John Onwhistle was, and that was a whole thing too. He had 4 Coliseum 320 watts, and it was up all the way, and he played really light. So when he was doing like the Real Me, he was just playing but it was just loud. I mean, he had 18s besides. I think he had some 15s for the speakers. There was just cabinets everywhere. But when he did Pinball Wizard, he just punched that thing, and it just like people. I think somebody next to me was smoking, and his cigarette went out. I mean, you literally felt just the onrush of air. But it was really an interesting. But it was interesting though. But these guys, because they just piled all these amps in front of the Who's setup, and they just went to town. But there was a lot of amps, and I remember there was at one point I think all 3 of them were doing a triple lead or something type of thing. I forget the song. I wouldn't remember.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around this. They played a 45-minute set with Freebird. 45 minutes.
That's about half
and-
a
Yeah,
set
that's
right
like
there.
that's like a quarter of the set right there.
But I remember one of the guys was using a reverse Firebird and then he did some slide. I remember that. But the other guys were on the other side. It was hard to see them.
The
But they were-
Firebird would have been Alan Collins, and that was a Firebird one. And he actually broke the headstock of that, which, I mean, how many 60s Firebirds have been broken? And luthier Jay Ryan, actually, because if you look at his, it looks like it's maple. It is maple. The neck, the back of it is maple. You can see maple on the headstock. He had a glue, because, as you know, Firebirds are neck through body.
Mm-hmm.
He had to glue that neck back on. So that's all custom. And that was luthier Jay Ryan, who's now no longer with us. And Jay Ryan, actually, footnote here is, if you look at Jeff Carlisi's Explorer and 38 Special, that's Jay Ryan's work here.
Mm.
So he was not that well known, but for the Southern Boys he was. But Alan's Firebird there, that was Jay Ryan. And Alan didn't play slide, but Ed King and Gary did. So you probably were listening to Ed. And Ed, I think I'm not sure he had his 59.
One of the
Strat,
pictures,
yeah.
there was a Strat in one of the pictures. There was a white SG.
That was Gary, yeah. That was
And
cool.
then there was a Les Paul, too. There was a Les Paul they were using.
Yeah, he had a gold
They
top.
changed guitars a lot
Yeah.
during the show. Considering it was a quick set, I think it was over 45 minutes. I think they were a good hour. I mean, everything back then was late anyway,
Yeah.
so they didn't start on. Nobody starts on time. It's like weddings; they never start on time. And then they were late, and then the Who came on. But it was an interesting set. But I love those Marshalls. We could spot those. I'm proud of myself. Even back then, it was like '73, I was taking pictures of the amps.
Thank God you did.
We were gearheads back then.
Yeah.
But speaking of amps and guitars, what are you using now in the band? What's your primary?
My primary amp with the band is a blonde Fender Tone Master. It's like early or mid 90s to 2000. That's a Bruce Zinke amp with short-lived with Fender. The time the Vibro King came out. I like it because there's nothing in the way of the tone. There's no reverb. There's no tremolo. It's not a traditional Fender amp. It's very Marshall in its thing. Yet it's 606s. To me, it sounds like a PV Mace that's all tube, kind of on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
So, since the Mace was the amp that kind of Skinner was using in 76 and 77, this is kind of like a beefed up version of that. And then my other trusty is I've got a vintage 71 Marshall 50 watt head that I use, that I record with, and occasionally I'll take it out and
So you're going to take the Tone Master with you.
I'm taking the Tone Master up north, right?
Okay, so you're just bringing the amps and you're going to backlog the cabinets?
I'm bringing my cabin, and I have a Sour Mash 212 cabin I bring.
212s?
Yeah.
Everybody's 212s? Okay.
Yeah.
That's good size.
It's easier on the back.
I hear you. That and Neomag speakers, which are half the weight of I have to admit, all Necos sound great, but as you get older, you start appreciating Neomags. They're much lighter. Now, I'm going to play a clip. Actually, we'll play Freebird since it's first up. Let's play that, and I'm going to ask you a little bit to... Everybody has headphones, so everybody can hear. So I want to ask what you're using on this recording. And then I want to get in a little bit with everybody in basically how do you emulate, Lynyrd Skynyrd? How do you do it? Because like you said, if you really listen to what they're doing, it's much more involved than just simple 3 chords or something like that. They're doing a lot. Mm-hmm. It's subtle, but there's a lot in there. So tell me what these clips are from.
This is from our promo video.
Okay, was this done in the studio or was this live?
No, it was done in the studio. It was done at
Serenity
West.
Nice. Is where we did the audio.
Yeah.
And then we shot the video at Cascade in Hollywood.
Now I want everybody to listen to the guitar tones because they really do nail it it's pretty close to. I mean, if it was an A B, and I really, it might be difficult to tell really in terms of the sound. They're getting the tone that at least I remember of when I saw Skinner play. So here's Freebird. Let's take a listen. So that's you playing, Cathy.
That's
so
me.
How did you get that sound?
Well, with the guitar I'm holding, that's my SG. This is an '86 SG Standard, the '62 reissue. I've got a couple of hot humbuckers in here, and there's a story behind that. And back a few years ago, at some other Skinner band I was in, we had a guy that we were releasing a CD, and they wanted some swag in the CD, and he says, "Hey, I used to work for Gary Rosington. I could send you a pair of his humbuckers." And I said, "Okay." So I sent him a shirt, yeah. I didn't know if he was just making it up or whatever, and lo and behold, here comes a pair of humbuckers here, and they're Gibson 490s. And, Gibson 490s are pretty run-of-the-mill, pickups. They're not super powerful.
They're like the PAFs, right?
Yeah. These were not your average P490s. These were a lot hotter, and boosted in certain mid-range area. So there could be something to it. I put them in here. This is 4 or 5 years ago. This guitar's never missed any Lynyrd Skynyrd that I've ever done, and it certainly, only with 2 exceptions, it's missed Freebird doing it, where I used an Explorer.
Now, were you using the Marshall there?
I was using my vintage Marshall.
Okay, but were you using any pedal?
I boosted it slightly with my Klon, and no gain, just a little volume, and the tone was kind of at 12 o'clock. It was just to really kind of set the Marshall off a little bit.
So which pickup were you using when you did the lead?
Bridge.
The bridge pickup.
Bridge pickup.
Because it has like a kind of a nasally type of mid sound that was unique. I remember that sound like on the original, and it had that tone.
Well, typically with Marshalls, I bump the mid range up and I bump the presence up. I really want to hear that sting, and I was listening to it, and the core tone was really good, but the Klon just put it a little bit over the top, and that's what it just came back on the recording much better. And I really liked it. It made me nail it, faster. So and I just was really happy. But that was pretty much it, And that was the only thing I really used my pedal board on, was Freebird right there. The rest of it was straight in the amp.
Well, let me play another clip, and then I want to talk a little bit about how you guys arrange and put the thing together. You tell me, should I play? I want to show more of the interaction of the guitars. I'm trying to think of which one had more double leads. Was it Give Me 3 Steps?
No,
That
smell
Smell.
and
All right, let's
Simple
play.
Man.
Let's play That Smell. The clip doesn't have the double lead part, but I know
Right.
which part you're talking
Yeah.
about. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about how you guys approach this. how do you break it down? I mean, how many parts were they doing? Mainly double leads, or did they did triple leads? I think at some point, didn't they? In some of the songs,
Mostly double leads, yeah. By the way, that was Deanna's background vocals there. I guess at a point, give her a plug there. It was on That Smell on the studio version. It's Steve Gaines at the end playing along with Alan Collins, and Alan Collins will play the really high note, which I typically do, and then Maria's playing over me the Steve Gaines part, and then that's where we come together for that the call and answer part, where they're actually doing like a reverse melodic A minor type scale. They're coming back on it instead of going forward.
And the way that we get, basically, I mean, being a tribute band, trying to get as close as we possibly can, humanly possible, as we can, we do a lot of deferring to Cathy as far as kind of our musical director sort of sound, because she's got, I mean, obviously, listen to the knowledge, the amount of knowledge she's studied.
Yeah.
She studied every guitar that they've played, and in fact, she actually played Alan Collins' guitar, one of his Explorers, when we were in Jacksonville. It was amazing. But so we defer to Cathy, and she'll kind of, when we're working on a new song, she'll sort of figure out which parts, who's going to do what, and give us our assignments.
Well, I just want to mention too, just to kind of give more background on Cathy, she and her husband own Tone Zone LA, where they build custom pedal boards and racks. In fact, she's building me a pedal board right now for my acoustic guitar, which we're going to be doing on a future show. And so she knows tone. She definitely knows tone. She knows her pedals, and she knows how to wire them. So.
Oh my God, they're gorgeous. They're a work of art. So, I have a Tone Zone LA pedal.
Yes, she does.
But the other thing is that people, playing in school and stuff, and playing in a top 40 band, we kind of covered everything, and you kind of get close. But being in a tribute band, it's a lot harder than people think. It's not. It's because you have to be more specific, and you have to really get the parts down right. And I think it's, in some ways, it can be tougher.
Well, it is, but part of being in a band, in a tribute band, I think, is for us. It's about paying respect. People don't want to hear you play. They want to hear what was played. They're not coming to hear you. They're coming to hear.
So you can't
they
just
want to
go
hear
off.
the licks that they love. They want to hear the sound that they love. They're not coming to hear your interpretation of it. Otherwise, we'd be a cover band. And we take that really seriously because the fans take it really seriously. And we found that out when we went to Jacksonville and we were playing in front of people that grew up with Ronnie and Gary
Trial
and
by
Alan,
fire.
and they came and we got the best compliments that you could get, which was from these Southern men that grew up with these guys saying, "Oh my God, we haven't heard a male," because a lot of people want to get up there and show off their skills and stuff, and that's all great, but that's not what it's about, because we want them to have the experience of.
Well, we call ourselves the experience, and there's a reason for that. What we're trying to do is, we're not, and this comes from our manager, because we had a meeting about that. He says, "I don't want you to call yourself a tribute band. We want another name for it." And we were all sitting around, trying to come up with something. I said, experience. And because we're trying to take you to 1976, 1977, the heyday. If you close your eyes, male or female, it doesn't matter. We're just trying to take you back there. Because obviously, we are never going to look like Lynyrd Skynyrd. It's just not going to happen.
I don't think it'll happen.
It's not going to happen. But we can address the other details that made Lynyrd Skynyrd something special.
And there are a lot of details too.
And there are a lot of details. And their tone was unique to them. And there's little things that, a lot of people think they just they got it by accident. These guys were pretty sharp. They knew what they wanted. They knew what they did. a lot of people, even though they took the endorsement from Peavey in 1976, they had every one of their maces, their amps were modified. And they took out the Peavey speakers and they put back their JBL 120s in there because they were fussy about what they were listening to. So they modded their Peavey maces to sound closer to Marshalls. But they liked the mace because out farther in the audience, the low end was better because of the 606s and the wattage.
Now, at the time that I saw them, around 73, were they still using Celestians or were they using JBLs back then?
They were using JBLs.
Okay, because there's no way I couldn't see if there was a silver dome.
They were using, because you were looking at a checkerboard grill cloth from Marshall, and it can hide the silver cap in a JBL, but they were using JBLs.
Yeah.
I also wanted to just add something about the experience thing. Not only is it an experience for the audience, but it's an experience for us because they were childhood friends. There's a chemistry that we have that we really honor and respect because they were buddies. They were friends, and you saw that, and you saw their, you can tell when somebody's not having a good time. Why should the audience enjoy it?
Yeah.
We're pretty passionate about what we're doing.
Well, no, there's definitely a bond. When you guys were at CS, you were together, you were doing things together. You go to the guitar store together.
Like the song says.
That's significant.
Together.
Anything we do it together.
Yeah, but that's important, and I think that type of vibe, that kind of family, that sisterhood,
that's how we
translates
came up with the name.
on the stage.
Actually, the name was a no-brainer because that's what we
were
always
calling each other
that all the
we were
time.
like, hey, sister, and our fans were calling us sister. They were like, oh, sisters, and so it was really a
Systyr
no-brainer.
Skinnerd.
We replaced the
Yeah.
I's with Y's, which just happened to be an amazing
Little
detail that
Yeah.
made itself available to us.
Do me a favor, if it's possible. We were talking about that smell, that ending where you were doing the trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys kind of just do a little bit of that to show what that was, what that was doing?
Where are we gonna go
Just
from?
a minute and a half of something.
Right.
Just take it near the end or something, so you show the leads.
From
Let's see.
the
All right, so hold on. Let's see.
Wow.
do you want to take it from the top of your lead, and then I'll come in, and then we'll how
Oh,
much
you
time
mean
we-
from the where I come in after the chorus?
Yeah.
After the last chorus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there we go.
That's great.
Or something like that.
I love the double leads.
Oh God, I love that. I love that double lead. The counterparts. Oh, that's one of my favorite double leads.
That's where actually that song, because it just flows along in just A minor and F back and forth. it can be monotonous. It's the guitars that add all the drama in that song.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so brilliant for them to put that reversed, melodic lead where it works back like a call and answer. And was Steve Gaines' idea to do that. And him and Alan do it, but because it builds all that tension up to that point. And that's the crescendo of the song. They really were like Guitar 101 for putting things together.
Mm-hmm.
And taking the simplest things and making them into, mini masterpieces. And that's because they had 3 guitar players. If they were all just strumming a G all the time, the same G all the time, it would just sound cluttered and, wouldn't be
it doesn't get mushed up, get all mushy. I mean, there's distinct lines. And you can hear it in the recordings, too. Right. You can hear the different lines that you're doing. You can hear the counterpoint between each other and stuff like that. And that's important. I think that's part of what they were, part of their magic was that they did that. It wasn't like, a bunch of guys just playing power chords.
It was never mush. Like
no. And when I heard them live, they were doing specific parts.
Yeah.
They were very architectural about how they put things together and very deliberate. And even their leads was Alan and Gary never really improvised when they went in the studio. They worked everything out note for note ahead of time, and they knew exactly what to do. And in fact, producer Al Cooper has made a comment about Gary Rosington that when he would like to, double track Gary's parts and just to fatten it up, which is a common producer trick here. And he would say, Gary, do you need to listen back what you did to play along with yourself? And he says, no. And Gary would cut the same part again. Every bend, every nuance, everything, it would be perfect. That's how well these guys knew what they were doing. He didn't even need to listen back to what he just did.
Yeah, and
to duplicate it perfectly.
Like a lot of other groups that would just improvise more, that were more looser. Like, for example, Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young, they would just they sounded nothing like the albums, but they would just do what they wanted.
Yeah.
These guys were precise. You saw that more with the English groups, especially the progressive rock, because it was more
structured, right?
And structured. But yeah, that's
with Lynyrd Skynyrd, people don't realize how much syncopation is going on there with the drums and or it could be the bass or even the keyboard parts. There's so much interplay between guitars and what's going on here, and there's subtle little things. They just kind of pass you by and you barely notice them.
Poison Whiskey is a good example of that sort of
Shannon's hands.
Let me play just this real quick clip of Sweet Home Alabama because that's pretty syncopated. That riff, it's the double lead. And I want to ask what you're using on there. There's some different tones on this. So here's a little clip of Sweet Home Alabama.
Sweet home Alabama, oh sweet home baby, where the skies are so blue and the governor's true. Sweet home Alabama, oh Lord, I'm coming home to you. Woo, woo, yeah. Oh my,
Now, what guitars are you using on there?
I'm using my Strat.
I thought it was a Fender in there. It sounded well.
I'm using my 62 reissues in 1989. And it's stock. It's pretty stock. I was going straight into Marshall, nothing else. I think using your Strat on that?
Yeah.
And Maria was using her Les Paul. We were kind of clean for the most part recording that. There's just maybe a hair on that. When we were mixing it, part of the secret to that, how it came out like that, and we're kind of happy. I'm really happy the way it came out sounding. It was good, but it was too loose, and I just kept listening to it's too loose. It sounds too separated. I wanted to tighten the whole thing up. So we just collected all the guitars on the tracks and brought them into one stereo mix and put a Fairchild compressor on the whole thing, tightened the whole thing up, and voila. That's what you had.
So you subgrouped it into the Fairchild and put it in.
And a stereo blend, Maria's part, Deanna's part, and mine, so they all were balanced and just still like one thing, because I was really after, again, that Skinner thing. And that was the answer.
So when you guys play this live, do you use the Strats?
Yeah. In fact,
I
up
think
there,
I'll be on the Les Paul.
She'll be on Les
and
Paul.
she'll take my. That's why I'm bringing.
I've been borrowing Deanna's lately, and it sounds good. It sounds great.
No, it sounds like the original. I mean, it's pretty close.
You got to have a
Gotta
Strat.
have that.
Yeah, and that was intentional, and play fairly clean on that, and we just wanted to get that because it was just a little snippet, mostly showcasing the vocal and the piano. So I just kind of laid back and took a cue from their second album, and just got it nice and clean. But part of the secret of making that thing sound tight was just grouping all those guitar parts into one stereo cohesive and putting a Fairchild. The Fairchild made them pop, and that was this secret, and it was like night and day.
And that was a real Fairchild, or was it a
no?
plug-in?
Just it was the Universal Audio plug-in Fairchild, but it was it sounds damn good to me.
If you know how to use compression, it's like night and day.
It's and that's a tricky song because if you push it, if you're right on the beat or you push it, you push it a little, it loses the groove.
Right. Well, most Southern rock bands, you don't push it. You don't.
Yeah,
push it.
yeah.
You're not ahead of it. You're usually. It's not really that you're behind it. It's not like it's swinging as much, but it's just it's a very subtle difference. It's a little laid back.
The best way to describe that, if you're, as we talk to each other and band members, the song bounces, and it's kind of a bouncing shuffle as opposed to a straight 4/4 rock, even though the count is there, but it sort of bounces along, and that's how if you keep that in mind, you play it correctly. Because you can just, if you ignore that, then you're just kind of plowing through it, and that's not really Alabama. And because you can't get those subtle little things that they do in there, and there's plenty of them in that tune. But I never get tired of playing it. It's a great tune.
It's a great song. It's a toe tapper.
Yeah, and the audience, of course, waits all night long for us
Is that
to play
the big one that they really go nuts for?
Well,
they go
It's
nuts
one
for
of them.
It's one of them, but they go nuts for everything.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the fans are insanely into all the.
Call Me
even
the Breeze
deep
will
cuts.
get them up 3 steps.
yeah.
Of course, Freebird. I mean,
But they love Simple Man and
Simple
Tuesday's
Man.
Gone. I mean, they
Needle
dig
and
that.
Spoon.
Needle in the Spoon. Yeah, it's
we played a show years ago. We were up in North Blaine in Felton, and we were doing "Searchin'" was the name of the song. It's off "Give Me Back My Bullets." I'm looking at this 20-something gal out there, and she knew every lyric for that song. I almost totally, screwed up the song because I'm thinking can't be more than 23 years old. She knows Search.
Oh,
I was
wow.
freaking out. It's like, wow, this is cool as hell.
I'll tell you, for me, when we were in Jacksonville and Leslie Hawkins, who's the only surviving original backup singer, was gonna leave, and she heard us play, and she ended up staying. And the next thing we know, we turn around and she's on stage
sing.
at
Yeah.
my mic,
Yeah.
and she's singing these parts with me that she sang, and I was like, I was like, I completely.
That was a
can't
bucket
even-
list.
I know.
That's
I
cool.
can't play the guitar now.
That's really
Like
cool.
she's
Because I
on
have
a
to-
plane.
I have to
and
be
it
a
went
honk
down.
out with you right now.
Now, I warned you guys, we're already out of time.
Oh.
Can you believe it? That just flew by, which just means you have to come back.
Yeah.
But real quick, I want you guys to talk about where you're playing and stuff.
Well, we're heading up north. We're leaving on Wednesday. We're playing this Friday at a place called the Granada Theater. It is in the Dalles, Oregon. That's just about 70 miles or so outside of Portland on the Columbia River. It's a beautiful place.
Old Deco Theater. That's
Yeah, an old
reopened.
Art Deco theater called the Granada, and that's Friday night. And the very next day, we are playing in a town. I'm not making this up. It's called Systers, Oregon.
In fact, the owner of Hard Tales just shared your post. Your
Very cool.
Facebook
Very
Live.
cool.
He's like, great way to know the ladies that are going to be up here next week. So
That's
thank you, Steve.
Systers, Oregon, a place called the Hardtails Bar and Grill. And
That's an
they're
outdoor
starving, outdoor gig. They're starving for Skinner, so we're gonna lay it
Are
on
you guys? When are you guys going to be playing down here?
We really don't know yet because we're just kind of kicking off here, and we're gonna do probably a lot of traveling. I know we're going back to Florida.
You know when?
Yes, in the end of October, around the 18th or 19th.
I'm sure the fans over there are going to be very happy.
Oh, they're waiting. Yeah, they've been really patient.
And then we head to Europe.
Then we head to Europe later
Europe.
in the fall. Yeah.
Apparently,
That
there's
will be a
major
trip.
Skinner fans
Yeah.
Yeah.
all over the world.
Yeah, I think first stop in Europe is Sweden. We're on a boat for 24 hours, doing
A lot
3-hour
of guitar players in Sweden. There's
Yeah.
a lot of
Oh,
players.
yeah.
So they'll be into that. No, that's an American commodity that's unique, like the old blues players and stuff. That's
Oh yeah, Skinner and classic rock.
and
is
a lot of
still-
people from outside the United States, it's not easy to assimilate that because it's a feel, and you got the feel down. You have it nailed. I just want to mention really quick, their website is www.systyrskin-nerd.com.
Sister
And
spelled differently as well.
SYSTYR.
It's like the album.
Yeah. So, but check out their site because you can get more information on everybody. I'm just want to say, Shannon, it's good to have you in the group.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think you guys picked a great bass player.
We're
All you guys, because I've
excited.
known all of them before, and it's great to meet you. And you're just going to have to come back. So we'll have to, when you do the tour, and maybe after Europe or whatever, we'll have to have you come back and see. I'm curious to see what you guys think of, what life changes happened to you by
We'll
playing
have
Europe.
some stories for sure.
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
sure,
have some
yeah.
stories
Yeah.
for sure.
If you want to, what would be just a little jam that would show the double leads or something to take us out, and then I'll fade you guys out while we're playing.
You want to do?
You want to do Poison Whiskey? That
Okay, yeah, we could
What,
do
the
that.
instrument, the
That's a fun
instrumental,
one.
of course.
So I just, before they start, thank you again for coming on. I look forward to having you guys
Where do
back.
you want to go from?
Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next week. And I'll let them take us out.
So, do you want to do?
Start on-
Okay, yeah, we can go from there.
Right.
2, 3, 4.